This is my first time doing a virtual one, so I'm glad I
Okay,
was able to
that's what's up.
I'm glad I was able to get you on, though. I appreciate you coming out.
Word, that's what's up.
So we connected on Instagram, and the first thing I really liked, and the reason why I was excited to talk to you, I like that you put out a really positive message, and that's what this podcast is all about. I'm trying
Yeah,
to help to inspire people and to show them that there's hope in life.
word, that's dope. That's a dope
So,
direction.
did were you brought up to think positive and to live a positive way, or is that something that you learned as you got older and had experiences in life that kind of sent you that direction?
That's a good question. I think that I mean, I grew up with my mom and my dad, my older brother. So, my parents were always big on us, going to college, getting a degree, always involved us in sports, stuff like that. So we were always active. But I would say, yeah, like they would just, just be good people, man. Just be a good representation of your family and your name. So I think I never wanted to really tarnish, my last my last name, right? So I wasn't a straight A student, but I wasn't going to school I wasn't getting bad grades. I wasn't getting in trouble. Um, I think just being positive for me was really like I wanted to play college basketball, right? So I knew that anything negative wasn't going to get me there, right? Around negative people, doing the wrong thing, not doing well in school, acting a damn fool, getting in trouble. So like that wasn't going to work. So I think my mom and my dad instilled that in me, my brother kind of early. I think that just, but as but I think more now in my older years, I've definitely found that energy is contagious, right? Whether it be negative energy or positive energy. And you attract what you think about most and you attract who you are, right? So you kind of learn that later on in life that, you what you put out absolutely comes back.
Absolutely, yeah. That's something I grew as I got a little bit older in life to see that as well. Like, that's something that my parents and grandparents tried to instill in me when I was young, is that you are who you surround yourself with. And, I didn't always hang out with the best people. And I was always told by my grandfather, you're going to be judged by who you hang around with. As soon as you walk
Damn
into a
straight.
room, if you're with hoodlums, you're going to be looked at like you're a hoodlum. So, and it's not that if it's fair or unfair, but it's just the way life is. And so, as I got older, I started to see that. Um, and you mentioned college basketball was like a big dream of yours, and I saw that. Uh, I saw a video that was posted with you and your partner doing the opening for the Providence basketball team. Is that
Yeah.
something like I'm just assuming now because you said basketball is a love of yours. Was that something that you seeked out and pursued, or that opportunity kind of fell in your lap and took you there?
Um, no, so I think just, I don't think, well, I'm a DJ, obviously. So
Yeah.
I don't think that my college career opened up, well, maybe indirectly. So I was at the University of Rhode Island first. I went from high school to the University of Rhode Island. I didn't get a scholarship to URI, but I got really, really good in my first 3 years on campus. I grew 7 inches in 3 years, which was crazy.
Wow.
So the goal was to play Division One basketball, my junior year, and we definitely don't have enough time to go into that story. I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's a crazy story, but it's so good as far as like how you learn lessons by losing something, right? By not, by something not working out, teaches you the best lessons. So I didn't play Division One. I ended up having to transfer. Um, and I had two Division Two offers during while I was transferring. Didn't couldn't take those, didn't take those. So I ended up at Division Three. And when I got to Division Three, I was like, man, whatever. Like supposed to play in Division One, interest in Division Two, and end up at Division Three. I'm like, whatever. And I was really pursuing music. But the head coach at Rhode Island College at the time used to be an assistant coach for Providence College. So that was my connection to PC. So we would always go back and we would do summer camps where we would work for money, where we were, teaching young kids how to play and do the camp counselor thing. So I kind of got in really good with PC, through basketball. And then obviously I was DJing. I don't really remember how I landed on the campus. Oh, you know what it was? So we used to play pickup ball on Tuesdays and Thursdays at PC. And so I was DJ Finesse and self-employed. So, as a DJ, you DJ at nighttime, right? So my
Right.
days are my days. So
Yeah.
daytime, I'm doing my day stuff and I'm going to play pickup at PC every Tuesday and Thursday for about like 6, 7 years, like religiously.
Right.
And then they found out that I was a DJ. And then a good friend of mine, Phil Seymour, was the assistant men's basketball coach. He showed up at a club I was doing one time. It's a club called Jovan's here in Providence, which is no longer. But it was crazy. Like my Saturday nights were like 1,000 people, like lying around the corner. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the assistant coach went to one of on a Saturday night, ended up going to PC, working out, hooping. He came out on the court with PC gear. Was like, "Yo, I was at Jovan's when you was this Saturday." I was like, "Oh, okay." He was like, "Yo, you had me doing the ride around." I said, "What's the ride around?" He goes, "When you get out the club and you ain't trying to go home, you just keep riding around the club." Right? His name was Phil, right? His name was Phil Seymour, still a good friend of mine. So once that connection was made, he was like, "We got to get this dude in here to DJ for men's basketball." So Phil made the connection. Next thing you know, here I am, year 13, as the official DJ for the Providence College Friars. So I'm literally in front of 12,000 people every home game right here in Providence at the Amp. So we started
That's
actually on
awesome.
Monday. So that's how that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So I
was
guess
just
so.
curious about
Basketball is
that.
all connected,
Yeah.
connected tissue.
And it's funny how like I'm in sales, so they say the more hands you shake, the more money you make. But it's the same kind of thing.
True.
Like you make friends with people, and you never know how down the line. You said you were playing games there for 7 years, and just it turned into an opportunity that you never would have thought you would have
Yeah.
had.
And I think that
So,
definitely true. And I think that I teach. I'm a behavior specialist at the high school. I got my degree in criminal justice, and I'm always teaching young kids about the power of not only when you establish them, but maintaining like positive relationships
mhm.
and the power of a chance meeting. Like that was a chance meeting, right?
Right.
So if my character didn't really connect with him or that energy was off, he would never offer me that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that
Yeah.
was a chance. Like I've got so many stories about chance meetings of how those meetings got me to someplace else. So
Yeah.
that's one of them.
And that's why you always put your best foot forward, because if you're always being the best version of yourself, if you're like, let's just say when you first met that guy, you were having a bad day and you let that show on the outside, that bad first impression could have led to him always having a bad taste in his mouth about you. So, just
Yeah,
always being, they say that luck is when preparation and opportunity meet.
me, 1,000%. Yep.
So
Yeah.
I see now you're doing a lot of like you're doing speaking engagements and you're talking to people, and that's something that I've always had an interest in too. So what led you to start doing those kind of things with speaking in public places?
I think I've always been someone who's pretty articulate. English has always been my best subject. Um, and I think I just get that from my mom's side of the family. I'm just a talker, right? I can just talk about anything. Um, but I think there comes a time when what you say, you start understanding that what you're saying now adds value. So you're not just talking to be talking, but it adds value. So for me, I just kind of always knew that was going to be a possibility, and I didn't always want to be a DJ, for the rest of my life. I'm 54. I'm blessed to be. Hip hop keeps me young, right? But I don't want to be on stage at 60. If it's one of those old school, whatever, I come back and do something like that. But I've got to start thinking about the next part of my life and how DJ Finesse can set up other things. So um, I've always had an interest in personal development. I'm sorry, that's not fair. 2015, I started to really delve into like personal development.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just had a couple of mentors who just started throwing certain books at me, how to win friends and influence people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, um, Outwitting the Devil, like just certain, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, the things I would never have read like in a million years, like no interest.
Mm-hmm.
And then just literally, um, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, like something I would never, ever even read. And I picked it up because these guys are multi-millionaires and they were like, dude, like you got to start really working on you. Like if you want things to change, like you have to change. I'm saying things were bad, but in order for me to get to, from where I was to where I wanted to go, I had to start building me and building me and building me. So once I started reading these books and watching these mentors on stage, like inspiring people, I'm like, that's it. Like that's it. Like that's the next phase for Finesse. Like like that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
Um, just started just really kind of getting into that, and I'm just still scratching the surface.
Yeah.
So taking certain classes. Well, I'm taking a class right now with Les Brown, just trying
Okay.
to really hone the skill of how to create the speeches and how to be more charismatic, how to be more effective with the message, and so it's some I'm doing my due diligence now.
Yeah, that goes back to you are who you surround yourself with. So by being around guys like you said that are multimillionaires, it inspired you to grow the way that they grew. And
Yeah.
Les Brown actually did a tape that I listened to for a long time. I listened to it every morning, first thing when I woke up. It's a 15-minute morning motivation with Les Brown. It's on
Motivation.
YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put the link to that in the description because that little 15-minute clip changed my life at a time when I was like first getting involved with sales. Um, Sales is a very mentally taxing business to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't take care of your mental health, like, I don't know how people could work in
Burnout.
sales if they
Yeah.
don't do that. So, because you're
Sure.
dealing with rejection constantly, and it's a roller coaster of a career to be in. So, I started trying to listen to people like Tony Robbins, and then when
Mm-hmm.
I listened to Tony Robbins, I started listening to other people like Les Brown and Eric Thomas, and
Eric Thomas. Yeah.
yeah, all those people, but the Les Brown 15-minute one, the 15-minute morning motivation, that was like my way to start my day on a good foot. And because everybody
Yeah.
has 15 minutes, just when you like first get out of bed and you're like brushing your teeth and about to get in the shower, like I would take that 15 minutes every day when I first rolled out of bed, and I'd put my headphones on and I'd listen to it, and it just would set the tone to start off my whole day like perfectly.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
read. I'm sorry. Go
go
ahead. Go
on.
ahead.
No, you're good.
I read.
Go.
I got like daily affirmations. Right. I think
Mhm.
it's just a routine that I have as well. Like you take your 15 minutes. I created daily affirmation that I have to read. I got one at my nightstand before I go to bed. So
Mhm.
that's the last thing my brain hears. Right. That's my subconscious. I'm feeding that, and then
Yeah.
I get to work in school. I tell myself I got to read 10 pages. I got to read 10 pages of a book, and I have to read these affirmations. So, also, and I make my bed, man. I tell all
Yeah.
the students like, yo, make your bed.
Yeah.
Like it is starting something and successfully completing something. The first thing in the day is a
Hmm.
start and a finish. Successfully
Yeah.
completed. So that just gets the mind going. So I
Yeah.
make my bed every morning. I don't care if I'm late to work. I don't care. I'm making the bed. The
Yeah.
bed is getting made.
Because you know what, it's
So
going to take you 5 minutes. So you're either going to be an extra 5 minutes late, or what's the difference at that point?
between 5 minutes and 10 minutes late. You're late, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it's like that's the start of my day. Like I gotta make the bed.
The biggest thing for me is like having a routine. If I'm like, I know my life is in a less hectic place if I have a routine that I follow every day. when
Yeah,
when the routine starts to get pushed to the wayside because I think I'm too busy to take my 10 minutes to listen to something in the morning, when I start thinking that I don't have time to do those things, that's when stuff starts slowly falling apart. The house gets a little
that's
bit
true.
messier. I start showing up late for things. I stop
Yeah,
exercising as much. Everything just
yeah.
starts to fall apart little by little, but it's being disciplined and having a routine that kind of keeps the house of cards from falling apart.
Listen, you can't be any. I mean, you're spot on. Like even myself, like I like making the bed. But that for me, like that goes back to basketball. Like I was
Hmm.
probably about a 82% free throw shooter. Right? I
Hmm.
still shoot very well now. I still train kids, and I was just in the gym. So I told you like 8:30.
Yeah.
I knew I was gonna go to the gym today, right, and put up some
Right.
shots and work out. But I think the routine, like I've learned what routine is because I have a free throw routine that I've been
Hmm.
doing since the age of 16, right? So that's even using basketball as a teaching mechanism to understand what routines are and the effectiveness of a routine. So you're right.
Yeah.
I know if I'm too tired and just don't really do my routine, the shot is just off, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, 3 dribbles, sit, release. 3 dribbles, sit, release, right? And it just comes back into play. So
Yeah.
yeah, same thing in business. Same thing in
Yeah.
business in my personal life.
Absolutely. So what's next for you? So, I know you're doing speaking engagements. Do you have any big events coming up that you want to promote and let people know about out there?
Um, so Yeah, so what's really cool is I've been going being 54, man, I think a lot of us are still really trying to navigate social media and how to
Hmm.
really be engaging on social media and try to really, you know, expand the brand, but I think
Yeah,
that the beauty is that, social media, it allows us to really get into other cities, other states, other countries. So
right.
I've been going live on, I haven't quite figured out Instagram yet because the algorithm's crazy. It kicks you off
Yeah,
for copyright infringement, right? As a DJ. So I'm trying to figure out how to DJ, more often live on Instagram, but I go live on TikTok, which is really blowing up, which is really cool,
yeah,
every Wednesday. So I would say, like for me, I mean, just follow my Instagram because I'm always posting something about some event that's going on. I'll definitely be in Vegas for the Boo Boo Andre fight. I'm not sure if I'm DJing right now, but I'm working on some stuff right now. But the Andre Benavides fight, Andre Boo Boo is actually from Rhode
okay,
Island, from here, from Providence, right? So
okay,
I'll be in
cool.
Vegas for that. That's the end of the month. Um, I'm always doing something here. Uh, whether it be there's a club called a lounge called Troop. I do Troop Lounge. I do Needle and Thread Lounge. I do G Pub. I have this
Always
place called
busy.
the local. And it always once a month. I don't want to be someplace too often. But I think the biggest thing is Providence College. Like if you have not been to a Providence College basketball game, it is pandemonium. It is wild in there. It is 12,000 people going crazy for the Friars. It's Friar Town and here in Providence, so it is our version of a pro team because we're in Rhode Island is very small, so we're close to
Right.
Boston, and obviously in between Boston and New York City. But the Friars, if you're in Providence, find a game and you will not be disappointed. It is the most craziest atmosphere I've ever DJed for. So I'm in front of 12,000 people going crazy, and it's dope.
That's awesome.
So that and
Um,
then work on some stuff, New York City, at Margaritaville, working on some stuff with them, Margaritaville and Pink Taco in New York. That's right in Times Square. So I have a publicist now too. Her name is Pilar Scratch. So she's putting a lot of stuff out there. Um, a lot of the story that I wasn't able to tell. We didn't have social media, right? When we were
yeah,
hot 25 years ago, right? There was no
yeah,
like, I think it was like what was MySpace just kind of jumped out, right? Before everything else.
right.
So 25, 30 years ago. So she's now telling the story. So you're gonna see like I've done maybe like 5 different interviews, um, magazines who are now hearing the story, or I guess it's of interest. So um probably that, promoting the book as well. So I'm a self-published
Okay.
author. The book is out on Amazon. It's out on Audible, and iTunes. It's called From Personal to Purpose. You can see it. You can actually see it in the back.
I was gonna ask
Um,
about that next anyway.
yeah, yeah, that's the book that I wrote. And started writing that 2019, released it in 2020. So
Okay.
the full
And
schedule, which I'm
do you
good.
want to
I'm
give a little
blessed.
synopsis of the book and what you touch on in there?
Yeah, so it's definitely in that realm of personal development, self-help,
Hmm.
motivation, inspiration. I had been told for years, like you got to write a book, you got to write a book. But for me, it's like it's value. Like one of my mantra is value is the true currency, right? I don't chase money, I don't chase the
Hmm.
bag, I chase value. Like
Right.
at the end of value is always money if you're providing value. So
Absolutely.
I don't chase money, but I didn't think I had anything of value to say. Like, like people know the story of DJ Finesse and DJ for Bad Boy Records, and I can go into who I've met, who I've been around, but I just didn't think that was of value.
Hmm.
And so, I had a bunch of people tell me you need to write a book, and I decided that okay, well, at some point in time, they can't all be wrong, right? When you have like, I mean, it was probably 20, 30 people. Like, you
Right.
need to write a book. You need to write a book. I'm like, I want to write about finesse. Like, that's not the story. Like, that's not the story. Um, 2017. So I'm circling back to the book.
Okay.
2017, I was diagnosed with C. I don't call it by its
Yeah.
name. Um, CANC. I don't give it that respect, right? I'll call you by your name. I'm not calling it by its name. So I was
Hmm.
diagnosed with C, and I really felt like at that point in time, um, I had a story, and that was the story, and that was what people could relate to. Most couldn't relate to like what I've done and who I've been around. So I can isolate a story, but C is, I don't even think it's 6 degrees of separation. It's probably
Yeah.
like 3. It's like
Right.
3 degrees, right? Like it's so common, unfortunately, for so many people. And it's, it's just literally torn down families, and it has there's no color, there's no race. It just, right. So, um, my going through that process, my going through that treatment and how I got through it and my mindset going through it, I'm like, okay, now you have a story. So that's when I started writing the book. So it wasn't, so I, in that book is not, it's a little bit of finesse, like very little bit, but it's really about motivation, inspiration, and it's done, I would say like creatively. I,
Mm-hmm.
metaphors to tell stories and get my point across about, how to push through adversity, you know, how to, like you said, how to sacrifice, how to stay focused, and
Mm-hmm.
how to live life and not just exist through it. All those kind of different nuggets. So I think it's a workbook, which is pretty cool. So after every chapter, I left space so you can literally jot down information, and you can, ask a couple questions at the end. So it's kind of like a workbook.
That's awesome, man. Actually,
Yeah.
there's a few books that I've had. One of my favorite books for personal development. It's called The Magic, but it's not about magic like witchcraft. It's about the magic of gratitude and how
Mm,
living a gratitude centered life will attract more things for you to be grateful for in your life. And
thousand
it,
percent.
it quotes biblical text, and it
Yep.
uses things that you hear in the Bible that talk about how different prophets basically spoke about that. And but every chapter that you read, it gives you like a task to do for the day, and it's 28 chapters
Right.
long. So if you do it right, then for 28 days you live your life focused on gratitude, and it forms a
Very
habit
true.
of just focusing on gratitude, which for me is another thing that really helped change my life. Is when I change the perspective of what I focus on first when something happens in my life, or just in general. By focusing on gratitude more, it kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things, from being more cynical and more
Mm,
kind of, it gave me more of a positive outlook on things, because I used to be the type of person that would have a hard time finding something to be grateful for in a bad
mm,
situation. And I was a heroin addict. I basically lost a lot of people in my life, and I got to the point where I had nothing left, and I felt I had nothing to live for even. And
yeah.
when I got to the other side of that, and I had the first moment of sobriety in over a decade. And I'm a young guy, so I started young, and I was pretty much not sober for a long period of my life. But when I got to the point of, for the first time from when I was like 12 or 13, when I was about 23 years old, it was the first time I had like a week straight where I didn't put any drugs in my system. And I started being around all these counselors and people that were trying to inject positivity into my mind, and I was very
Mm,
resistant to it
sure.
until
Yeah.
I
One open. Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't open minded. And when I finally had a mentor in my life that I trusted and looked up to, and he gave me the task of, he told me every day he wanted me to write down 10 things I was grateful for, no matter what it was. And after doing this for probably a month straight, my whole mind just changed to where it became very easy for me to find things I was grateful for, even in tough situations.
Tough situation. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
like, so even when you
You need to
talked
start writing
about,
a book.
I, I,
You need to
maybe,
start writing a
maybe,
book, man.
yeah, at some point in my life, I could do it. But even you mentioned C, and I'll call it that. For the length of this podcast, but like, that's touched my life too. And I lost somebody very close to me when I probably had around 3 years sober at the time. I'm coming up on 9 years now. But after
Congratulations,
I
bro. For real.
thank you. But when I lost my uncle, this is how crazy gratitude got. I used to be the type of person that I couldn't find anything to be grateful for. But when I lost my uncle, and in the wake of that tragedy, my whole family was devastated, and so was I. But when I went and talked to the people around me in recovery, and I was able to tell them that I was grateful that I was able to face it sober, because I was able to be there for my family through that. And because I
Mm,
knew that if I was in the midst of active addiction, that I wouldn't have been there, that I wouldn't have been able to comfort my uncle's children, my cousins and my aunts and my parents and my sister, I wouldn't have been that strong force in my
Yeah,
family.
wow,
And for
sure.
so when you talk about going from being a guy that can't find something to be grateful for to finding something grateful in the worst of situations, it's a complete 180 transformation.
It is. I mean, I lost my mom to pancreatic C. It'll be
Sorry.
actually 3 years. No, thank you. I just think that for me, just going through it absolutely softened me up. But I think, I wouldn't have, to this day, and my wife knows this, like I haven't shed a tear. And it was never, woe is me, why me? And I'm not, you know, 9 years for you, like, mine came through HPV, right? So it wasn't from drugs, it wasn't from certain food. I wasn't, I don't smoke cigarettes. Like I don't do any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how long HPV was in my body. I have no idea. I went having to go to Boston, and the doctor's like, don't even try to rack your brain. He's like, most people, it's like 90% of people have HPV, but they're
Yeah.
able to pass it, right? They're able to pass it through their immune system. For some reason, for those that don't pass it, it just at some point in time, it was finding that usually men over 40 starts creating, when the cancer cells kick in, or those C cells kick in, it starts,
Mm-hmm.
or when the HPV cells start to mutate, they start
Mm-hmm.
creating C cells. Um, and for me, like I think that really softened me up to kind of understand, just how valuable life is. And I literally said, I'm not the most religious person, but I have a relationship with God. That's my
Mm-hmm.
relationship. And I was like, okay, I'm like, I hear you loud and clear. I'm like, now you got a story.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, so I have got to show people strength. And for me, it wasn't, I'd have been justified and, crawling up into a shell and just kind of isolating myself. But I didn't. I went to social media. I'm like, you know what? Someone out there is going to need to see strength. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to show them what strength looks like. So as far as like going through chemo and radiation and showing people what I was going through and being in the hospital, and I figure if I can save one person or just inspire one person to fight and not give up, then my going through this traumatic time in my life was worth it, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
never said why me. I knew why me, because I was strong enough for it, right? I had the mental capacity to go through this, and the humility and the vulnerability, or even transparency to share it, because it wasn't
Right.
about me. It
Yeah.
wasn't about me. It was like, okay, I've got to share this with people. And I had a young lady that hit me up on Facebook. She was like, she had gotten into a bad car accident, and she had to teach herself how to walk again, how to almost talk again, eat again,
Mm-hmm.
use her hands. And she said that she hadn't been outside the house, besides going to doctor's appointments. She hadn't been
Mm-hmm.
outside, nothing social. She said for 3 years. She said, because of your story on Facebook, she was, I went out for the first time in my life. And I'm sorry, went out for the first time in 3 years that
Wow.
wasn't a doctor's appointment. And that was
That's
me sharing my story
unbelievable.
with her. So yeah, so we turn our test into testimony, man, and I tell people that we tell our stories that give other people permission to tell theirs, right? And they say, hey, I
Mm-hmm.
can tell my story. You can absolutely tell your story, because I think we all
Mm-hmm.
have a story to tell,
Right.
right? Biggie, right? We got a story to tell. Um, so yeah, right. So I think that's where that came from, and that's there's a lot of that in the book as far as just telling stories and that people can relate to. And I think what I'm most proud about that book is that every single word is mine. There's no ghostwriter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have an editor who just did a little bit of editing as far as the grammar, stuff like that. But every single word is mine. Besides the foreword that was written by my man Master Ace, the hip hop legend Master Ace,
Right.
from the Juice Squad, is a friend of mine. So he wrote the foreword. So those are his words. Everything else is every word is mine. The audio book, I actually read the book. I wanted it to be my voice.
That's
Uh, you
great.
know, yeah, studio time. So, I read my book for those that want the audio version. So I wanted to be authentic, which was everything was me.
That's
So
great. And I do a lot of reading, but I do the audiobooks if I'm driving. And I like
yeah,
when I get an audiobook and it's the author of the book that's telling the story. I know
yeah,
not everybody thinks that they have the voice for it or whatever, because some people just. But if you have the capability of doing it, to me, it's authentic that way.
yeah.
I listen. I
I don't
listen
even
to
know
a
if I have the
book.
voice.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if I have the voice. I know, but I need to be my voice, right? So I think the public will tell me
yeah.
if they like it or
So
not.
that's available on Audible. You said.
It is. Yep.
Okay, so you got it
Yep.
on Audible, and you can get if you want to buy a copy of it, it's on Amazon.
Amazon. Yep. Doing really well. I think out of a 5 star, I think I got like 4.8 stars. I think
Awesome,
it's
man.
really touches some folks. So now, but now, like my publicist has it. Now she's like, dude, it's go
Yeah,
time. Like people need this. They need to get this book.
yeah.
So she's got it. She's an amazing publicist. Her name is Pilar Scratch. She's an amazing person. So I've got some other things that are coming up that I really can't say just yet
Yeah,
till they arrive at my house. But there's
yeah,
some accolades that are happening, which I'm pretty proud of. But I think when those happen, I can speak more about it.
that's awesome. So what I'm going to do in the meantime, then I'm going to link to your social media in the description of the podcast so that people could find out what comes up after this for you. I'm going to put a
Yeah.
link to the Amazon page for the book. So if they want to check out the book, they could do that as well as Audible. And
Yes.
is there anything else you want to promote while we're on here?
Um. No, just like you said, just more positivity, right? Just
Awesome.
I'm not sure if you guys saw the story. I think we all have an opportunity to do some decent things, right? I think that what happens is, look, in this country, you got people just scrambling, right? People are
Hmm.
struggling. I think it's very hard, and it's a very hard concept to grab. How do you save? How does a drowning person save a drowning person?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I can't throw you a life raft, bro. I can't. I'm taking on water. Like I can't.
Yeah.
So many people, in a figurative sense, are drowning, and
Hmm.
they don't know how to get out of it. And I tell them it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, but it is so true. The more people you help get what they want, you will have
Mm.
everything you want, right?
Absolutely.
Gratitude. Like
Yeah.
the more it sounds crazy when people say, well, how can I help you out if I'm struggling? I'm like, you got to shift it. You got to shift the mindset because it's not going to change. It's like I realized that the more people I help get what they want, and you can't help everybody, I get that, right?
Hmm.
But the more people I help get what they want, I'm getting everything that I want. And it's like, oh my God, like if I just knew this even earlier in my
Right.
career, right? Because it's always about like me. I need this, I need that. How do I get this? But I'm like, that ain't the way to go. So,
Mhm.
for me, I have a lifestyle brand. Like this is one of my t-shirt, one of my hoodies. It's a hip hop, hip hop 50, and
Hmm.
it's got the license, right? So it's almost like the ODB, and the license is hip hop. So hip
Yeah.
hop is a living being. So it's the license is hip hop. Cedric and Cedar Avenue, the Bronx, right? The date of
Right.
birth is 1973, so it's a play on that. Then I am hip hop. But
Awesome.
one of my t-shirts on my lifestyle brand is it says value is the true currency. Um, and so I realized like value is the currency, and not even monetary currency, but just you know the what's the best way to put that? The payment you get from giving,
Hmm.
right? The payment and even like the feeling is a payment, right? The feeling of
Right.
gratitude, the feeling of I helped someone push through, like that's a payment, right?
Hmm.
And there's a cost to that, and that cost is giving of yourself when you feel as though you can't, right, to help somebody else, and
That's right.
that what comes back is just amazing. But I mean, I've been able to even monetize that um in just different scenarios where I've just given, and it's always come back. So if there's a lesson, right, what I'm trying to promote a little more is what you talk about is gratitude and positivity.
Awesome, man. Thanks again for coming out. I want everybody to check out the DJ Finesse on Instagram. And I'm gonna
Absolutely.
put the link in the description as well as to his book, From Personal to Purpose. There's an audio book available on Audible. Thank you everybody for watching once again. The Power of Now. We release a new episode every single Sunday, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the great guests we have coming up. And thanks again for doing this, man. I really appreciate you coming out.
Appreciate you, brother. Man, keep doing what you're doing, man. You're a game changer. You're a life changer. So, the more people get to see your podcast and see the interviews and everyone's on the same page, the better, the better we all are. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Have a great afternoon, man.
You too. And let me know. And listen,
right.
my bad. Any PC games you're in problem, let me know.
Yeah, no. If I'm up there, I
to.
definitely will. The last time
Yeah.
I was in Rhode Island, we only had time to do Newport, and
Yep.
we were there in the summertime, which is it's a big beach town, obviously, But
Absolutely, yeah.
I had a friend that went to Providence College, and he was telling me the next time you go to Rhode Island, you have to go to a basketball game too. He told me the same. He's actually my financial advisor, but he literally told me the same thing.
Yeah. So whenever you just look at the schedule, let me know. I got you for tickets. I got you.
Thanks a lot, bro. I'll hit you up.